Critiquing spells I find on the internet in 60 seconds so that you can learn how to be a critical thinker and be able to become a better spellcaster. Let's roll the tape.
Lemon and thoughts that give you anxiety. Cut the lemon, put those thoughts inside of it. Then you'll tie it up and discard it away from.
Now, this is going to be difficult to cover in 60 seconds, and let me just say that if you need to seek help for mental health or medical issues, please seek those first before turning to spell work. I would also say that there is no right or wrong way necessarily to do your spell work, but it can always be improved on. Now, this spell that we have here is actually a hexing spell that somebody used for an anti-anxiety spell, which logically doesn't make a whole lot of sense because essentially we're taking our anxiety and we're binding it to something souring. So I would instead say that we need to be more specific about our overall intention and goal. We also could maybe use something like an orange, which is known to uplift mood. And instead of binding, I would say we would use banishing. So overall, I would give this a spell a 3 out of 10. Critiquing spells I found on the internet so that we can all become better practitioners. Let's get to it. So before I get too far into this, I do want to say that I mean no hate or harm to anybody whose spell I use in this. This is just an opportunity for us to all learn better ways that we might be able to cast our spells, especially if we're finding those on the internet. We have a cash flow and fortune money spell. There's some pretty standard ingredients: mint, sea salt, clover, nutmeg, cinnamon, sugar, coffee, lock of your hair, and a candle of any color. Then it gives each of the word that you're going to be speaking, the steps for your ingredients. And then at the very bottom here, after it talks about the sacrifice, you will notice that it just gives you some standard notes talking about things like you can use any 7 ingredients you want, and that the sacrifice just needs to be a part of you. Obviously, I used this spell in my critique because I had some issues with it, so let's get into those. The first issue I have is I do have an issue with some of the ingredients, but mostly I have an issue with them not being specific about what I'm supposed to be powdering things with. Number 2, they didn't really specify if you let the candle burn down all the way before you bury it. Number 3, I wouldn't necessarily bury a paraffin wax candle. I might bury a beeswax candle. And if you are going to bury it, and they just said exterior door, usually people think the front door is the door that people come in through, so that would be where things would be drawn in. So I buried at the front door. They weren't very specific about whether or not this was supposed to start immediately, how long it was supposed to last, and that can be crucial in having your spells come to fruition. I did have a problem with the whole sacrifice thing. Technically, burning herbs is considered a sacrifice, so why am I using my own hair? Not only is that really going to stink, but also it's not necessarily necessary unless you're trying to bind yourself. So overall, I think I'd give this spell a 5 out of 10.